Hello, I'm Ms. Purvi Soni and I'm from Department of Economics, the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. And today I will be discussing about the topic monopolistic competition. Now, the monopolistic competition can be seen in our real lives too. Let us take an example. Suppose you walk into a departmental store to buy a toothpaste. There will be two aspects that you will be noticing in this scenario. First will be that there will be quite a number of toothpastes available in the market. There might be stiff competition. And the second aspect is each product will have its own uniqueness. This can be pretty much understood in case of monopolistic competition. Now, monopolistic competition is made of two words, that is monopoly and competition. This basically means that each firm is the sole producer of its own product and its own brand. Now, coming on to the propounders of this theory, first is E. H. Chamberlain. He propounded this topic in his book, The Theory of Monopolistic Competition, that was published in the year 1962. Now, talking about Mrs. John Robinson, she published this in her book, The Economics of Imperfect Competition, that was in the year 1969. Now, talking about the features of monopolistic competition, the very first feature is that there are large number of sellers. Now, the sellers are so large that its share in the total output is very less. Because of these large firms in the market, the competition is very stiff. The second point is product differentiation. Now, this particular feature is a very important feature in case of monopolistic competition. This basically means that you are differentiating the products in case of its size, its quality and its packaging. Now, because of this feature, a monopolist has some power to control its price. Then the next feature is the selling cost. Selling costs are very significant in case of monopolistic competition. These are the costs that are basically incurred on the advertising, the marketing, and these costs are incurred to persuade the customers to buy their products. Then the next is the non-pricing competition. The firms under the monopolistic competition compete on the non-pricing basis. This basically means they are distributing the samples, they are distributing the gifts, and they particularly don't have an impact on the pricing. So, it is very important, and this is very important to attract the customers and prefer over other competitors. The next will be the pricing decision. A firm is not a price taker nor a price maker in case of monopolistic competition. A firm has a partial control over its pricing. This is because of the product differentiation. Talking about the freedom of entry and exit, the firms are free to enter and exit the market. They are not as free in case of perfect competition. Because of this particular feature, the firms earn abnormal profit in the long run. Now, coming on to some examples, these are some examples which we are very much aware about. The mobile phones, the clothing brands, the chips, the cold drinks and the chocolates that are available in the market. These are some perfect examples of monopolistic competition. Now, talking about the demand curve under the monopolistic competition, it slopes downwards because the monopolist has to reduce its price in order to sell more output. And talking about it is downward sloping, this is the reason. And it is also more flatter because of the availability of close substitutes in the market. The second is now coming on to the price and output determination under the monopolistic competition. Now, the equilibrium is determined. There are two conditions. The very first condition is that the marginal cost must be equal to the marginal revenue, and the second is the marginal cost must rise after the equilibrium. What if the marginal cost doesn't rise? It means that there is more scope for profit. So, at this diagram, the equilibrium is established when MR is equals to MC at point E. Then coming on to the short run equilibrium. There are basically three conditions in case of short run equilibrium. The first is the normal profit. In case of normal profit, the average cost is equal to the average revenue. Now here, equilibrium is established when the marginal cost is equal to the marginal revenue. In this case, OQ is the equilibrium quantity and OP is the equilibrium price. Now talking about the abnormal profit. In abnormal profit, the average revenue is greater than the average cost. Now here in this case, OP is the equilibrium price and OQ is the equilibrium quantity. Now the region that is PMES, this represents the abnormal profit. Coming on to the abnormal losses. This happens when the average cost is greater than the average revenue. In this case, the equilibrium price is OP and the equilibrium quantity is OQ. And equilibrium is determined at the intersection between marginal cost and the Now talking about the long run equilibrium. It is due to the freedom of entry and exit, the firms earn abnormal profit in the long run. Now in case of abnormal profit, the average revenue is greater than the average cost. Now equilibrium is determined at E because MC and MR are intersecting each other. Now when this intersection is extended to the average revenue curve and when the average cost also intersects, as at this point the shaded region represents the abnormal profit which is represented by PRSZ. PRSZ represents the abnormal profit. This was all about the monopolistic competition. See you in the other form of market.